Hello, hello. I hope everyone can hear me. Welcome to the second round of the Competier Open Series. Glad to have you. We are already in qualifying. First cars have already driven out. As you can see, we have a couple new names this time. Really looking forward to it. I think three of those, Finn, Luca, and Kai, are going to try to compete for first place here. Expecting a lot of them. We'll see if what Robert has to say against that. As you know, the winner of the first race of the first round, and he's going to have some pretty tough competition today. I think Noah's going to be the first to try to start a lap here. Let's go on board with him. 152 that you see there is an outlap. It's the first corner tight, but runs over the curb pretty hard. You can try to center your car over that little yellow curb on the inside, but he hit it with the inside wheel, so it bounced him off to the outside a little bit, and he hit the sausage on the outside, so not ideal. Positions himself on the curb there. Back on the throttle. Be interesting to see what gear those drivers are in, because we found out in practice that it's not quite that obvious if you should actually be in second there or if you should just use third, which makes it a bit easier to accelerate out of that. Let's see. Fishtails a little bit on the brakes. Going all the way to the right here to make sure you open up the next corner. Smooth on the turn in. Again, as we know from the last round, totally possible that these drivers actually don't have that much grip right now. The track is still going to rubber in, so as qualifying progresses, the times will get a little bit faster. Just apex very slightly, and I think goes off track here, so that could be invalid. That's definitely invalid now. Luca does. That looked a lot smoother, but we haven't really seen the rest of his lap. .43.0 to start with, but Robert immediately going for 41.5. Considering that the conditions probably aren't perfect, that should be pretty quick. We'll take a look at it really quickly. 97.4% track grip. That is pretty bad. So the 41.5 is a good lap already, right at the start. A little bit of a drift here, out of the second corner. Steers it in very smoothly, but then in the exit he had to correct a little bit. Luca went for a different line. He turned in significantly later. Those guys bunched up a bit now, but as long as Luca's quick enough, maybe Robert doesn't actually mind a little bit of tow. Now, we've also seen this in practice, that it seems to be worth it to do what Robert just did in the last corner, where he centers his car over the yellow curb on the inside. But because the incline is so bad, it can be a bit difficult to manage the weight of the car then. Robert resetting to the pits. Luca with a pretty bad first sector. Not sure if we saw the first corner. Didn't look like it was great, as Kai actually goes slightly on the grass in front of him on the new ideal line. Still correcting a lot. Okay. Not really sure how the car will react yet. Very careful on the throttle here as well. And here as well, not quite as committed as Robert was. But it already looks as if early into qualifying, everyone else has to play catch up to Robert here. Easily misses the first corner. Finn has gone out of the pits as well now. Maybe you didn't want to bother too much, as the conditions are still significantly worse at the start of quali than get better. But I'm actually interested in seeing if Robert will still improve. I think his first lap was quite good. Take curb here nicely, but not too early, so you can actually go back on the throttle. However, seems as if it was a bad first sector again for Luca. Let's go on board with Finn for full lap, for his first full lap. Misses the apex a little bit here, hits the sausage, not ideal. But it looked like he was still pretty committed on the throttle. It's all the width of the track here, the drivers can fully go to the left here as long as they're still on the curb or at least on the green stuff with the right wheels. They just can't fully go on the asphalt that's left to that. So they can actually extend quite far here, and you'll see all of them trying to do that. Now, way too deep into this corner though. Therefore very slow in the middle of the corner, very late on the throttle. So Robert actually improved. I didn't see that by another 3/10. That's very competitive. This lap definitely not it for Finn. See what Noah has to offer. Still's got to improve from his 152 at the time he's searching for, but also goes deep. Makes the same mistake that Finn just made. Into the same corner. Kai taking a lot of curb there. But it looked as if he was still pretty early on the throttle. Or can get upset there quite easily. He doesn't seem to be very happy so far with that lap. Finn sending him a setup because he's struggling. Better late than never, I would say. Hitting the last corner pretty nicely, wide enough, so it should be quickly. Is he gonna improve? No, not at all. Again, the first sector or so that we didn't see was a problem for him. That looked clean. Didn't go fully over the yellow curb on the inside, but not actually sure which of these is faster. Probably depends on how exactly you handle these cars. He lost 3/10 though, so it looked like he had found something there earlier and now struggling to reproduce that. Spins out, goes into the wall. He's probably going to be searching for the setup that Finn just posted. And again, way too deep here for Noah. Important to find some improvement here to at least try to qualify ahead of Frank, who has done a, by his standards, pretty competitive 43.5. The rest of the lap would have had to be very clean for this to still be that time. Completely misses the second to last corner here. That looked decent. Excuse me, that, oh no, that wasn't an outlap. It looked a bit, according to the graphics, as if that was an outlap, but he's actually 600ths faster than Frank now. So, that's good. Looked a bit scrappy there over the across the first turn, but he also went for the more aggressive line over the curb on the inside, so we'll see if that paid out, and it didn't. 3/10 behind, but we saw the mistakes that he still made in the rest of the lap. Again here, very tight, takes a lot of curb and then struggles to get back on the throttle. Looked a bit better, touches the gravel here a little bit, but it was definitely faster than what he did the lap before. He is also about to be overtaken. There's someone very close behind him who has to slow down now. That is Luca, actually. But Noah also messes up the lap. Luca also blocked by this now, but it did look earlier like it would be pretty unlikely for him to still make up the 8/10ths that he's missing. Tries to find the pit entry. So, Definitely done an improvement then for Noah, who's also already gone back to the pits. So this is your starting grid then. We've got Robert on P1, very strong, 8 tenths ahead of P2, who is then a second ahead, but I think we're missing someone. I think we're missing Finn here right now. He might have left the server. But that would be Luca. There's Finn again. There we are, 4 tenths to Finn, 6 tenths to Kai, another 5 tenths to Noah, and then 600ths to Frank. I would assume that Noah would be a bit, is going to be a bit further ahead, at least in the race, than Frank. But we'll see where it goes. The battles ahead of that, I'm looking forward to. Especially now that Kai actually has a setup, maybe maybe he will go a bit faster now. So 6 cars lining up here. Is Robert going to be able to manage to pull a gap, or will he get attacked into the first turn? I think that's what Luca should go for, because just on pace I think it's going to be hard for anyone to challenge Robert today, unless the guys behind still make massive inroads now. Finn didn't press drive quickly enough, so we get going. And I think Luca has a very good start here. But other than that, they file in nicely. They approach the second actual corner of the track, all of them quite wide, but in a way that is allowed. Still the same order, but Kai very close to Luca now. So he's going to get a lot more draft now than Luca's currently getting from Robert, so maybe he's going to send it down the inside. He could take a look here at least. Fix his braking point. And Luca tries to go for the switchback, but it looked as if he had to hesitate a little bit on the throttle in order to not hit Kai. It looks like Kai is going to make that one stick. Yes, look very good. Plays into Robert's hand though, as Kai gets a bad exit out of here, so Luca could try to come back for that one. I don't think he's quite going to be close enough to get into, to send it into what's not a lot of braking into the second to last corner. As Robert there actually goes completely on the asphalt, which the race control is still going to look at that after the race, because that's not allowed. As per the rules, you do have to be at least on the curb with the inside tires. If you get on the green stuff, it shouldn't really get you anything, but Robert is clearly going fully on the asphalt, so hoping you won't do that too much and not collect a ton of penalties now. I'm close to Noah, but I don't think he'll try to take a look into there. These guys file in. Hank also fully off the track here. Pretty weird track limits that the game has here into in Red Bull Ring specifically, but they're all behaving here. So that's going to be quite interesting, because if we actually are expecting a penalty, if the Stewart's rule that Robert is gaining an advantage from what he's trying to do, then he has to pull a significant gap. And right now it looks as if Kai and Luca can compete, and they're being close. They're staying close enough. So over the line, 41.5, 41.3 for Kai should be the fastest lap, and again Robert goes fully off the track. I think Kai can chill at this point, to be honest, because that's definitely going to be a penalty for Robert. Luca was struggling a little bit at the end of last lap, 42.1. And Noah made a pretty big mistake, apparently. We didn't see that. 47.1, Uncle 45.3. And Finn with a 43.1, clearly faster than Noah, and Frank is going to try to still get there over the course of the race, but not matching the pace of the guys in front. We'll see how that turns out. By getting very close here into the third actual corner, technically I think fourth corner of the track. Robert again going very wide. It looked as if he could have still been on the green there, but Kai wants to go for the overtake anyway. Very close now. He's going to get the perfect draft out of here. Pulls alongside. Robert trying to ensure that he has to stay on the outside. Robert taking the corner for himself. He was actually a bit too far behind, or at least it looked like that to try to do that, but Kai outbraked himself there into T1. Let's see how they come out of this corner. Otherwise I don't want to go into the replay if it could be tied into the next, but it won't be. So let's take a look at it. Already passed it here. Pulling alongside, getting shoved a little bit by Robert, who is still ahead at that point, and then just picks his braking point a bit too late, has to go over the sausage here and just can't fully get back on the throttle. Needless to say, Kai is going to be staying competitive here. Maybe he's still going to make the time back up. This lap definitely wasn't his. Still 23 minutes plus the end of whatever lap they're on to go. 41.9 for Robert, 42.8 for Kai, as we just saw him go off track and then make another mistake into the second to last corner, I think. Luca with a bad lap at 45.0, and the guys behind that also slower. Quite interesting that even though Robert and Kai were fighting, they're not actually losing time to the people behind. It sounded a bit uncomfortable there, the engine note, didn't it? It might have been slight over rev. Yeah, surely the cars can handle it. But wouldn't do that too many more times probably. I like that Kai sees Robert in front of him going a bit too wide in some scenarios, but doesn't try to do it himself. Hopefully also knows that he is probably net P1 right now. As Robert again going completely to the guardrails, which the game allows here unfortunately, but is explicitly forbidden for this race. It's an exception of a rule just for this track. Usually we don't manually govern track limits, but here it was just necessary to prevent what you're seeing here. Finn now roughly matching the pace of the guys ahead, 41.8, only slightly slower than Robert on a 41.6 and Kai on a 41.3. So Finn should be approaching Frank in about 3 laps, depending on what laps exactly Frank does. I think we just caught Frank making a mistake here very late on the throttle, and also revving too high, probably just didn't shift in time. So Finn is getting closer to that. Drifting out of the second corner. Finn again 2.8 seconds faster than Frank on the last lap, but also again not matching the pace of the first two, both of them very fast here. Seems to be his thing to try to drift out of this corner. And Finn now, for the first time, same pace as the guys ahead, 41.3. A bit too late to still get to the front in this race, but important for the next one. Provided that he will actually press drive in the next one. It looked like a Mistake from Robert there, sliding a little bit. Still getting out of here solidly. So, let's go on board with Finn. I see approaches Frank, who's going off the track and then decides to go off the track out of sympathy. Might already have him here into T1. I'm not expecting Frank to fight that much here. Frank's just going off the track to leave, to let him pass. Well, Robert goes under 41s for the first time. I think Finn also does it and snatches purple. Some Tony Hawk action, yeah, got a lot of points for getting stuck on the sausage. At least you don't get stuck that badly on high curves with this car because it's too high. If you could, you would lower it even more. Robert going a few hundreds faster, but again by going completely on the outside asphalt at least once. Plus 10 seconds. Well, for every obvious case where it's actually completely clear-cut, probably not plus 10 seconds, but you will probably get a penalty for every single one of those. At least if he didn't slow down significantly in any way. That's why I already said earlier that Kai can chill here at this point. There's definitely going to be some sort of penalty for Robert. Not sure if it's going to be more than 10 seconds total for Luca to still go to P2, but it's considering how often we've already seen him do that just now, just on the stream, is actually likely. So Finn searching for his next target, most likely his last one for this race, unless Luca makes a mistake, because I think Luca's fast enough to stay ahead of Finn here for another 13 minutes. Finn going off here, but turning that into an overtake by going off again. But specifically on the exit, we're not governing that in addition. It's just about the entries into 1, 2, 3 and the second to last corner, where you can actually go on the asphalt on the outside. So you're definitely gaining time if you do that, and it's definitely shouldn't be valid. The game just lets you do it. Wrong camera. Solid overtake. I think Noah made it a bit easy there. Ah. I wish I hadn't seen that. It looks like it's going to be a long night for me. I wanted to prevent that by not manually governing track limits. But in this case I had to do it. So I think Robert has a good chance of staying second after the penalties, considering Luca will likely also get some. Fully on the asphalt here. Was what Finn is doing. Finn is doing it like Kai. Going off track here, but again we didn't specify it here and also not here. I also think that if you go too far to the outside here, you go on the throttle so badly because of the painted area there. But it might not be worth it. Why is this not on Twitch? You can multi-stream. True, but we don't have a Twitch channel for the Competier stuff right now, and I didn't want to do that on my own Twitch channel, which is like supposed to be about me, and this is supposed to be about the series. That's why I split it like that, and we have it on YouTube, so all the content about it is in one place. Kai getting closer again. 0.4 faster on the last lap. 47. Extremely good. It's the curb here, gets out of the first corner suboptimally. Been going for P1. I mean, there is a chance that he'll be second, isn't there? Because ahead of him, both Luca and Robert, we've already seen fully go off track, but Kai hasn't. So I don't think P1 is possible here for Finn. But again, doing last to first. Again, I'm not sure if it was intentional or he just didn't press and drive. But with the penalties, maybe it would have been too easy for him to start in the front end. Not against Kai. I think gaining a little bit of time here, even though you saw Robert doing the thing again in front of him. Very clean, like with the middle of the car over that yellow curb there, and then it's quite fast. 0.2 seconds of a gap, probably not enough to try to send it in there, but Robert was he was scared of it there, because he would try to go that far to the outside again, but this time he didn't, and then he didn't pick his braking point correctly. So now Kai, a lot of draft, maybe even a bit too close, would have liked a bit longer of a draft before he pulls out to the outside. Robert stays on the inside, but leaves him enough space. Now Kai is on the inside, his chance to grab the position. And he does it cleanly. We've already said maybe that it wasn't even necessary with penalties up ahead, but he also wants to P1 on track. Oh, and Kai immediately with a mistake, so that's Robert's chance again to get it back. And it looks like he's already going to be significantly ahead of him, a couple car lengths at least, before they even get into the corner. So thrown away a little bit by Kai. And with a 46. Super good pace still. And now Robert and Kai are actually slowing down each other a little bit. 1 second penalty every time you go off track? No, that's not the case. I don't think you get penalties as easily here at all on this track, even if also if you go on the painted area, for example, in the last corner, as Kai goes for it again. Ah, a little bit of a touch there. Kai slightly ahead, Robert thinking that they would go further to the right there. Kai with a slightly better line, Robert bumps into him slightly, both survive that though. And here Kai early on the throttle and now on the inside, so that should be it, unless Robert can get himself back into it with the toe. But I don't think that's going to be possible. First corner soonest again. But they both get this corner cleanly. I think Kai got it a bit better. So the toe is not going to be enough to send it into 2-1 here. Contact sport. True, with these cars it's possible to touch each other a tiny bit. I didn't see anything super unfair there. At least not when it came to the actual battles. Now Kai has the chance to prove that he is a bit faster, but we know that with these cars, because they have basically no aero, you don't get any dirty air effect, so nothing that slows you down if someone's in front of you, but you do get a draft. So it's totally possible that now that they're the other way around, that Robert is going to be slightly faster now. In the meantime, Finn still trying to make inroads on Luca, at least on track. Half a second faster lap time though, that's not going to be enough to still reach him if it stays like that. Robert missing the corner a little bit here. Very important that he doesn't lose the toe now. Half a second ahead, he's still getting a little bit of it at least, but not that much anymore. Point 3 again. This time Robert going for an inside line, trying to poke his nose into there, and actually hits Kai a little bit at least. While he was arguably still too far behind as they go side to side into this left-hander again. Kai trying to take the corner, he wasn't fully ahead though, so he shoves Robert off slightly. Looked like that was revenge for the corner just earlier to that, where Robert tried to peek in when he was too far behind. So both of them getting a bit rougher here now. I would be interested in how this plays out if they meet again, but since Robert isn't going to be there for the next race, Kai very sideways into that corner now goes off the track, but Robert at the same time also not doing a perfect corner, so he kind of misses that opportunity to still get close this race. So race control is going to be looking at that as well. Two little incidents that we just saw. Robert pushing his nose in, hitting Kai a little bit to try to go to the inside, and then Kai shoving him off while he was maybe not far enough ahead. But we'll see if anything comes out of that. Both of these things pretty marginal. And they will be looked at according to our incident guidelines that should point out as objectively as possible who is at fault here. And if anyone is at fault. Do you think it's penalty worthy? I'd also have to look at it again, but to be honest, both of them probably not. It's also possible that both of them will be a small penalty and then it doesn't matter anymore. I feel like Kai tactically kind of he was going for revenge there a little bit, wasn't he? Like he was getting a bit rougher because Robert was also getting a bit rougher. That's what it looked like. But yeah, we'll see. Even though it's not going to be a penalty big enough to let Finn by, so Kai coming over the line first, and it's pretty clear that he will stay first, even if there's going to be a penalty for the contact, because Robert is still expecting penalties. Luca goes fully off the track all the way on the grass, but is keeping that position on track for third in front of Finn. Same situation here. Luca's still expecting penalties. With Finn, we don't know for sure. Haven't been on him that much this race, but it looked like there won't be any. And then Frank is ahead of Noah. We missed those battles, didn't we? Slides into the last corner, tries to get out of here, but Noah is too far away. So Frank in second to last place, decent result for him. New line from a couple people there at the last lap. Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. A bit of a shame with some of the penalties that we're expecting now. So the order that you just saw isn't going to stay completely the same. But if you want to stay updated on the penalties, take a look at our Discord server. There's going to be announcements either this evening or sometime tomorrow about what the actual final standings are this race. So for now, we'll go into a short break. Then we prepare for the second race. Be right back. Okay, there we go. Someone was very quick to leave the pits there, that was Kai. So, slightly smaller field for the second race. This time we have Charlotte with us though. We'll see how quick she'll be. I think pretty likely that she'll slot in between Frank and the and Finn, Luca and Kai basically. Is fourth, maybe able to attack Luca if he decides to go mow the lawn a couple more times. Nice drift from Kai into the first left-hander. Just tactically warming up the tires, of course. Pretty visible that they are more comfortable with the car now. Probably haven't practiced that much, if at all, before the race. Kai obviously still able to beat Robert. Pretty impressive. The first corner here decides not to go over the wire, over the yellow curb on the inside, but otherwise very clean. Hesitant there on the turn and maybe slightly early on the brakes. Take a look really quickly, 97.3% track is, I think, pretty similar, if not exactly the same than last qualifying at the beginning of the session. So everyone except Charlotte should be used to the condition, to the ramp up of the conditions now. This is the corner here. I was expecting it to hook up a bit more. Maybe used to how much grip they had at the end of the race now. So definitely not his cleanest lap. He's still going to improve that, but what is it for now? 41.1 is also... That is actually very fast. Considering he still had mistakes in there, it looks like he can easily do 40s here, even though they're on low-ish grip now. Immediately messed up the first corner though. I think the first corner of the last lap was quite clean. Charlotte going on her fast lap now. We jumped onto it a bit late, but it looked as if she was very late on the throttle there. Very careful here. Also interesting to hear that she's staying in third, but I don't think that was aggressive enough overall. Pretty clean so far. So could be a bit too careful maybe, but for a banker early in qualifying, definitely the right way to approach it. Too early of an apex here though, so she has to slow down a lot here now to try to stay on track. Well, this corner was actually pretty good again, so she'll be significantly behind in time here, at least to Kai. .3. Finn's lap wasn't valid, apparently. Actually, completely misses the first corner here, so this one's also not gonna be it. Luca currently on a 23.9 first sector, 41.9 second sector, so that'll be probably around Charlotte's time when he arrives. Let's see as he goes over the line. That was an outlap, never mind. He did reset then. I'm not improving yet, but also I think there's a pretty good chance that could be pole already. I'm specifically looking at Finn here, who could still one-up him here. Again, Charlotte with a very early apex, so losing a lot of time into the second to last corner. And not managing the incline perfectly here. So that was also not it. Finn goes around the same corner combination, goes a bit wide here. Which also widens up the entry though into the last corner. But we are invalid again. That was probably the case that we just saw, because while it is allowed to do that in the race, it will invalidate your qualifying laps to cut towards the outside between the last and second to last lap. So Finn hasn't done an actual lap here. The 417 was his out lap. Same as Luca. Going into the second to last corner now, missing the apex though. Will it be a valid banker at least? No, also invalid still. Going for another run out of the pits. The tires on these cars don't really degrade, so you could just do a single big run throughout the whole of quali, but then you'll obviously have a bit more fuel on board for the beginning. So if you want to maximize the amount of attempts you have, then you could just do that. You just take 15 minutes worth of fuel with you and go for it at the very beginning, and if you want a bit more potential pace throughout the session and give up 1 or 2 attempts, then you split it up into 2 basically. .42.7 for Charlotte, so no improvement yet. We know that she's still missing a lot of time in the last 2 corners, and I think one other small mistake that we saw in her lap, so 41's definitely still in there, but has to put it together. Finn comes across the line, or... oh no, he was in the pits earlier, right? So this is not a valid lap. Luca might also have. I know that the thing says on in the top is lying to me a little bit sometimes, but it said outlap again. It was correct. And Kai also, as we know, started his second run just now. Looking to improve here as he misses T1 slightly. If I remember correctly, that was very good already at the beginning of the session. So likely already lost significant time here. Switching the braking point for the second corner. Curb here tries to get out cleanly. He is staying in third here as well now, as Charlotte does, and as I personally think is faster. Even though he leaves a little bit of space to the left. Maybe not expecting the speed of the car to not pick up as quickly on the initial throttle application in third, but because we don't have to shift, you make it back just after that. You do have to go on the throttle a bit earlier than though. Very clean, takes as much curb on the inside there as possible without making the car too unruly. Maybe a bit late on the throttle here as he would have gone off into the gravel there. I strongly assume that this lap is slower than his PB. So having trouble actually reproducing it even though the conditions are improving a little bit. Very clean through here, should still have been valid, but was at the absolute edge as Finn goes for 49. Very clean lap, so Kai has to catch up a little bit now, and Luca also finally having done a valid lap and is immediately in the 41.3 as well, all of them quite similar in pace now. I wonder if Luca was also still on a worse setup in the first race. We saw that Kai was having issues in the quali of the first race, and then Finn sent him a setup, and then he improved massively. So looking forward to seeing all these guys relatively close to each other now in the second race. Oh, not a great sound with the engine revving that high. I wonder if that was already enough to damage it a little bit so he loses power. That would basically be his qualifying over. But he is continuing, so at least he thinks he got away with it. Big drift here. This lap already not being it though, so the next lap counts for him. He's not going to make it around again, so he just has that one more. Finn goes over the line again. Surely we won't see another improvement. That would be pretty insane. We do see another improvement. It's only 2.7 hundredths though. But into the 48 now. And that's it for him. Messes up the first corner, decides to go into the wall. Looking at whether Charlotte can still manage to improve. Still on her 42.3, is probably searching to be at least somewhere in the 41s, even though Luca will be a bit too difficult to catch here for her, I think. Funk at a 44.4, so it's not as fast as he was in the previous qualifying. But in this field, he's going to have it difficult anyway to try to not be last. Misses the apex here a little bit. That actually looked very good, but we have no idea how her lap went until then. Some sector times. But that's still not it. Very slightly slower than what she already did. And misses T1 here, and that was her last attempt, so already not off to the best start for the last lap. Probably still possible to make up some time though. We'll see how far she's going to be off into this first sector now, 3/10. Not ideal, but definitely still an opportunity. Takes a lot of curb here on the inside, is therefore very late on the throttle and not gets out of the corner optimally. Fix the braking point. Bit late on the throttle, but the line looked good. We're slowing a little bit here, therefore taking an early apex. So again, a bit time lost there, and we also see that in the time losing another half a second or so on her PB. Maybe a bit too careful. Expecting, am I cooked or not? We were talking about that in the stream, that you went fully on the asphalt a couple times, which isn't allowed as per the additional rule that we made just for this race. Usually we don't manually govern track limits, but here we kind of had to because you can go so wide. So I assume you will be expecting a penalty, but by how much I can't tell you that. I'll be reviewing that together with at least one other person. Charlotte not happy with her performance here, trying to see how badly you can break the car. Don't think she can drive anymore. Luca going over the line last, but no farther that might have actually been an improvement, I'm not quite sure. So, we have Finn on P1, 48. Very strong in these conditions, not optimal conditions. The best time, I think, on the practice server is a 45, but that's in optimal conditions. Then Kai with a 41.1, Luca with a 41.3. Looking forward to seeing those guys battle. Charlotte in a 42.2. A bit off both the drivers before and behind her. Frank improved to a 44.0. And that's too good for the second race. Got it, I'm cooked then. If it makes you feel a bit better, we on stream you already saw Luca also doing the same thing. We obviously haven't watched every single lap of everyone, so I can't tell you who's also getting a penalty. But there will be penalties, plural, for some people. So there's no way to tell right now if or how many positions you will lose. So owing to the starting grid, the 5 cars as announced previously in the order. Interested in how Finn's race pace is going to add up now, because in the last race it seemed as if Kai was significantly more consistent, even though Finn has the ultimate pace advantage now. And whether Luca can stick to them. Honking for the stream. So 3, 4, 5, 6 lights. Someone didn't press drive again. This time it was Frank. Accelerating, Finn already trying to close the door here into the first turn as they actually go 3 wide. But managed to miss each other. Luca very close now. But as he gets a perfect toe, Kai also gets a perfect toe, so Kai a bit closer though to Finn. They approach the second actual corner. Kai can get ahead a little bit, but he keeps it very, very wide to ensure there's no collision. But he goes past, it looks like he goes past fully, and he has such an advantage in speed right now that Finn isn't going to make that back up again. All of them cleanly through the next corner. Team got very close here to Finn, who didn't get this corner quite perfectly, not really hitting the curb there. Struggling to get back on power. And Luca trying to not completely annihilate them into there. Lots of curb here, not on the throttle as quickly as Finn is. And struggling a little bit here, getting a very, very bad exit with both the correction and going fully out on the painted area. On board with Finn now. Clean first corner from both of them. So no overtaking opportunity into the second corner unless Finn really dives into it. We will get a little bit of draft here, but he will not get anywhere close to alongside. Finn doesn't actually go all the way to the outside here though, so wants to show himself in Kai's mirrors at least. Both of them get out of this corner cleanly, but because of that, I think Finn might have lost a potential opportunity to overtake into the next corner. Interesting to see how everyone's approaching the corners, who's taking the curbs or not and where. Yeah, we were talking about that there, and in both the first and last corner there are these yellow curbs on the inside that you can run over flat. And if you do it in a correct angle, then you will be fine, and at least in the last corner you will also be fast. It looked like some of the drivers thought they would also be faster in the first corner. So very different approaches here. Finn gets out of this very cleanly, but can you really do an overtake here into the second to last corner so close that he will decide to bump draft him, at least very slightly. Here approaching the corner not as cleanly, small correction in the middle, but it looked like Kai had to do the same. So Finn close enough that the draft will pull him along nicely. Would be a risky overtake here though, he knows better. As Kai goes wide, significantly, comes back on the track, already behind Finn. So gifted position. Good idea from Finn to just try to show himself a little bit, but not go for something that would be unnecessarily risky. And Luca now so close that he also bump drafts him, not going for the overtake. Maybe the bump draft causing Kai to go a little bit deep here. But since the bump draft was significantly before the braking zone, it's allowed. You're obviously not allowed to drive into the back of someone as they're picking the braking point or too close to their braking point. But what they have been doing here so far was completely fine. Luca sending it down the inside, but he might be Kai doing the switchback here perfectly. I was wondering if Luca would be able to you touch a little bit here. If Luca would be able to park it down the inside in a way that would block Kai from doing the switchback, but very clean here from him. Go Charlotte. Charlotte is 3.6 behind, and because of the fights ahead, she's not losing that much time right now. Frank having had some issues apparently that we weren't really looking at while these guys were fighting it out for P1. So Charlotte has got a lot of room here and is not under pressure at all, and watches on. If these guys make bigger mistakes, then she will be in the hunt for a podium pretty quickly. In great draft here for Luca. Tries to get a better exit here, which I think he has. Kai's exit did not look that good, but he is going for the bump draft again. Some teamwork at play here maybe. Kai being pushed a bit further towards Finn. But on the other hand, we have already seen Luca go for it, so we're tactically choosing whether he wants to lose time right now to Finn by going for an overtake, or whether he just wants both of them to progress a bit further and ensuring that they're still close enough to Finn. Bad exit there, so no opportunity to go do that anymore for now. Luca missing the apex here slightly. Both Kai and Finn seems to have gotten that a bit better. But I think makes the time back up here in the last corner. At least to Kai. Crossing the line with a 49, 48 and 49. Pretty bad hit here on the yellow inside curb there, but Kai now so close that he's taking a look at Finn, who ensures that Kai has to go to the outside. He's slightly ahead now, but not on the optimal line, trying to ensure that Finn has to take a bad entry here. Finn goes very, very tight and has issues going back on the accelerator because of the incline there on the inside of that corner, so Kai makes it work very cleanly. Luca not quite close enough to try to profit off that. Finn immediately with a better exit. Again, Kai ensuring the other way around now that he has to go for the outside line, so Finn does the minor switch back here where he tries to get a better exit but can't really go for anything there. Kai just in the way for how little space you have between those corners. They're really... Oh no, Kai losing the car. He's fine, he caught it, but the time loss just so big that he actually has to ensure that he doesn't also get caught by Luca here, who goes for the bump draft again, so no worries there. Lost the position pretty unnecessarily though to Finn. Small mistakes here and there as these drivers really push themselves on. Again, Luca with the bump draft. Is Finn finally going to be able to make some space here? It's pretty difficult, as we already saw in the first race, these cars, because they have no aero at all. The dirty air is basically non-existent, while at the same time you do gain time significantly if you're in the tow, so you actually get faster if you're behind someone. Which also enables some pretty great racing, as we're seeing here, as these drivers are bunched up so heavily, and it's very, very difficult to try to make some space, get everyone behind you out of the tow, especially if they start bump drafting each other. Small slide here for Luca. Significantly wide, but I think he's got enough of a gap so Kai can turn this into anything, provided that Finn will have a good first corner. Which he doesn't. Kai getting it a lot cleaner. And Finn again on the exit, immediately going fully to the inside, ensuring that Kai doesn't get that line. Now Kai lets himself go fully to the outside here as they pick their braking point. Kai going for a slightly deeper braking point. Finn again all the way on the inside over the curb, but that will yield a worse exit. Looks like there's a little bit of connection warping there going on, so Finn was never actually fully behind. He's still halfway alongside. Picking the braking points, and this is the chance for Finn to try to stay ahead. Both of them very respectful here, leaving more than enough space, and you already see the red arrow because of Luca down there. A little bit of contact there, which luckily is usually fine with these cars. Bit of a drift here from Luca. Luca's still searching for an opportunity. Most of the time he's going for the bump draft. With 18 minutes still to go, and all of them, I think, having realized by now how you actually get slightly faster if you're behind someone. The last 1 or 2 laps, if they're still going to be bunched up like this at that point, are going to be hectic, as everyone suddenly wants to be in front. Right now Finn in front, still trying to pull a gap, but it's just so hard to do. Kai taking more speed here as Finn was prioritizing the exit. Kai getting closer again, not quite close enough to make it work probably into this corner as Luca's also so close. And Finn braking way too deep, and this is the opportunity for both of the other drivers to get past. Kai can now decide who to give the tow, and he gives it to Luca. Finn still slightly ahead though, he also wants to get a little bit of it, of the tow, and I think he's way too deep now, isn't he? Yes, that's the chance for Luca to actually stay ahead, and for the first time I think this race is fully into second, and actually looks like he's going to keep it for now. Honestly, unbelievable racing. I loved seeing this. I was hoping for the Red Bull Ring to deliver this, even though we're having the track limits discussion here, but the racing in Red Bull Ring with all the straights, and especially in these cars where you can touch each other a little bit just like that, just like Finn is doing right now with Luca. Finn having realized that if they drop a bit too far back, that they're giving Kai a chance of escaping. And he sees the bigger picture there, but he needs Luca to perform. Luca going slightly off track. They're giving Kai the opportunity to pull half a second gap now on Luca. So we've seen half a second isn't quite enough to fully escape the tow, but it does. That's where you start noticing that the people behind you aren't getting tons of free time anymore. Been much cleaner exit here. Luca covering the inside, and again because of the gap ahead, he's going for the bump draft. Thank you guys for hosting this. Thank you for joining. I'm very happy that we're finding more and more drivers. Obviously still pretty small field, but also it's the second race day, and we're hoping for it to fill up over the course of the season, so we can have a fun final. And these guys are delivering here right now. But in this configuration with Luca in the middle, are they just losing too much time to Kai? And it looks like Finn has had enough and he wants to go for it. So Luca makes a couple too many small mistakes, which leaves Kai with the opportunity to take a run for it. So now that Finn is back in second, there's almost a second gap. So now Finn has to make that back up with pure pace. He can't just do it in the tow. Corner here a little bit. I think this is the opportunity for Kai if he doesn't make any major mistakes now. Finally not gifting the people, the drivers behind him free time every time they're on a straight, which on this track is a lot. 46 for Kai is also just so good. That is gonna be tough to beat, but we have seen some minor mistakes from Kai where he likes to drift into the last corner or something along those lines. So we'll see if that'll be the equalizer. And drifting out of this corner again, and Kai is so clean again, pulling another 210s. On board with Luca now, who's at the same time also struggling a little bit to keep up with Finn. We were expecting him earlier to be slightly off pace, but as he was close enough, it looked like it was enough to stay there, to stay in the mix. But as soon as he was second, there was someone behind him getting his tow. It was obvious that Kai and Finn are right now just a little bit faster. Oh, takes the incline there very badly. The car bumps down back onto the road after the curb, and that completely ruins the exit. So bad engine note there. That didn't sound very good. Also doesn't take the corner very well. It looked as if Kai had a pretty bad end to that last lap. Still a 47 though. So gap back to 1 second, even though Finn also made a small mistake. So we're still seeing the opportunities here and there that both of them can make the time back up if they keep the insane pace that they both have right now up cleanly, without the occasional little mistake. Way too deep here though, isn't it? Trying to get back on the throttle somewhat well, but from a 0.8 gap instantly to 1.1. 1.2, 1.1. It looked like that could have been a lot worse than losing 3/10. Very far on the outside here, and you notice that if you go too far, if you try to approach the last corner from too far from the outside, you will run over a little bump again on the painted area on the outside, and then you struggle on the turn in. So while it feels right to try to open up the corner as far as you can, there is a limit to how much it's worth it. And Kai with a small mistake in front now, so again the chance for Finn to catch back up, and even if he won't be going alongside or past yet, getting back into that half a second window will be worth a lot. Finn again fully on the inside here, going with the center of the car over the yellow curb that we've already seen in both the first and the last corner. That if you do it correctly, can gain you time, but in that specific situation in the second corner, it does make your exit a bit worse. Much earlier apex here for Kai, been for the later apex so he can be on the throttle a bit earlier. Optimizing the exit, and we're back to 0.4. It was 0.3 for a little bit there, window 0.3 now. So on a straight like this, Finn is going to gain significant time again just because of the draft. And that puts him back into play after Kai lost around a second lead that he had in between. And not as clean out of this corner, so this might already be the chance for Finn. Unless he wants to prepare for a move into the second corner, which is a longer braking point. But he tries to go for it here already. Bumps over the curb with the inside right wheel, leaves Kai enough space, and because of that bump, because of how late he was on the throttle, Kai is catching back up only slightly though. Finn will still be on the inside here for the next corner. Been very late on the throttle here now with this line, so Kai is staying in front, managed to defend it from the outside, and Luca's back. Both of them having lost too much time ahead because of that fight, and then immediately again, as we've already seen earlier, Luca going slightly deep here. Finn lucky to not get hit in the back there. And very early there to go on the left. It looked as if he was actually on the grass a little bit. Again, a bit on the grass here on the inside. lose him a bit of time, but Kai goes a bit wide here on the exit. And Luca's going for the bump draft again, isn't he? Yes, there was a touch. Ensuring they are both a bit quicker, and he goes into him again into the braking zone. You're not supposed to be doing that. Looks like they're fine though. Meanwhile, Charlotte did a 41.9 race lap. It looks like that wasn't her best race lap. So she has actually improved significantly compared to quali. Obviously part of this is the track conditions, but looks like she found her groove a bit more. Although these guys ahead are just so quick, and part of that is obviously all the draft that they're giving to each other all the time. So catching up to that seems basically impossible at this point. Luca's also on a 45 race lap, which is purple. I didn't actually see that, but clean lap and then probably a lot of tow, which is worth so much. Extra bump for the extra braking power. Yeah, that's. I hope that was intentional from Luca earlier. They're into T2, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But luckily, everyone survived that. Again, proof that these cars are just the perfect vehicle to do this with. Entry-level GT car where little bumps tend to you tend to survive those. Finn 0.2 behind Kai. He might take a look into there, but it would be pretty risky. Long braking point though. You can brake yourself side to side there. It looks like he goes for it. Takes it tight, ensures there's space on the outside. And even on this camera you can see Luca who is so close that again he's going to bump draft Finn and ensure that Finn is going to be alongside Kai for the next corner instead of being slightly behind. Picking the braking point, Finn deciding to go deeper here while Kai seems to be preparing a switchback. Is that going to work out for him? He is on the outside now. Definitely has a momentum advantage. Wants to make sure that Finn can't go fully to the right here by pushing him just very slightly, and he also gets pushed back here very slightly now. Both of them leaning into each other through a corner. And again, Kai with a very clean switchback gets the better momentum here. And again, a very slight touch. But do you really want to commit that heavily into this corner if there's someone on the inside? And it looks similar again. Finn going for a deeper line, wanting to take the position now as Kai gets it back out of the corner. But now it's Finn's opportunity to do the same. However, Finn doesn't have enough time to move to the right here out of the corner. So he pushes Kai on instead. Immediately showing himself again here into this corner. Already proven before that it's possible to make Kai miss the corner slightly if he sees someone in his rearview mirror. And going very deep here, very deep line. Touches Kai a little bit again, gets the bump draft from Luca. And now because he gets the bump draft on the inside while he was already slightly ahead, this is his best chance so far. Gets the bump draft. Again, it was really tough. It almost looked like he would lose the car there. But takes his braking point so deep, completely different line, so hard to tell when they go into it how they're going to come out of it. And of course they come out of it side by side, starting to go 3 wide now as Luca sees his opportunity. Luca's going to try to go for a bigger switchback here, but I don't think that is possible at this point. Been a bit early on the throttle here than Kai, so if he really wanted to, he could take a look into the inside here. It's actually going for it again. Still very far behind here though, but he goes for the deeper line, pushes Kai slightly. It looks like he was almost going to lose the car. I think Kai had enough space there on the outside, but they really want it. It's obvious that they want to be in front now. It wasn't that important who was in front 20 minutes ago, because they know you're just going to give the people behind you free time. But now it's not the case anymore. Now they want to be in front because they want to be in front at the end of the race. Luca has to go on the grass because he didn't want to bump draft Kai here, but on the grass, with so much more friction, he doesn't manage to keep the momentum advantage that he had out of the corner. But this is the opportunity for him to get into P1 for, I think, the first time. Manages to leave enough space to the outside, but because you run fully over that curb on the inside, you have a lot of incline to still do because the track is shaped that way at that spot. You get a really bad exit. And somehow Kai manages to be in front again. Bring Charlotte into the mix. They'll have to make some pretty tough mistakes here, or spin out each other in sequence for that to happen. But it would be, who knows? Like, I feel like I've already seen everything this race, but who knows? Maybe I'm going to make a YouTube Shorts with a bump draft counter. That would take a long time to edit because I think there are a lot of bump drafts. Slight drift here from Luca into the last corner, probably ruining his opportunity to try to make it stick into the first. And as they go over the line, this is going to be the last lap. So now, maybe a bit more, maybe slightly more risk that they're all willing to take now that this is the time to be in front. But Luca hits the sausage here, so he's vulnerable now to Finn, who is in the draft, but Luca obviously is as well. Is he going to go for it here? He takes it to the outside, wants to go for the better exit. Luca relatively clean. I think that was just a very strong corner from Luca. Maybe Finn was a bit too careful here, losing a bit too much time on the entry. Now Luca wants to know it. Switches back to the inside shortly before picking his braking point. He is still going to slow down fast enough, but off the curb the exit isn't as good, and again Kai stays in front. Luca gets a bit of a bump draft, but not enough. Now the opportunity for Finn as Kai loses the car, and it looks like he's touching the gravel. Luca's in front now. And also breaks late enough into this to try to stay in front, but that's the opportunity again for Finn to try to make it stick into the second to last corner. As Kai somehow manages to go around Finn after being a little bit on the gravel, and they touch significantly. Luca wanting to go back to the outside, but Kai not letting him. This is actually going to be Luca on P1 as Kai drifts out of the last corner being hit by Luca, and now Finn wants to go into P1. Kai decides to push Finn, and that's Luca back to P3. What a roller coaster ride in the last lap. That was absolutely insane. It's Finn, Kai, Luca. Completely impossible to anticipate in what order they would finish. Just 2 corners before the end. Absolutely insane racing. Love to see that. That was so good. Generally so good. Oh my god. Don't think I've ever talked that much so quickly. A lot to go into the wall in the background. Amazing. I'm speechless. What a race, GG's. That was so nice to watch. It was so nice to watch. It was impossible to see who of you would be in front, what the order would be. 2 corners before the finish line. I don't think I've ever seen this. Seen racing like this in any series, to be honest. Absolutely insane. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's the cars are perfect for this, aren't they? Because if you're close to someone, you gain free time. There's no dirty at all, no aero, but you get the draft. So if you're bunched up like that, it's just back and forth all the time, so hard to make a gap. And Frank coming over the line now on P5. As usual, most important thing, doing his best. Esports driving, I think this was, in a way, this was better than what I've... The esports driving than I usually see, because usually esports drivers don't stay next to each other for that long. They can't. They push each other off. But this was so clean. The odd small touch, but in any case, everyone survived it. Luca decided to bump draft into braking zone once, which is an interesting move, but it worked out. It worked out. Okay. I think that's it for today. It was amazing to watch. As usual, I'm going to do my best to try to get a couple more drivers in for the next race. Please, would be great if you do your part. Like this video if you know more people who would be interested in an open weekly ranked racing format like this. Poke them about it. Didn't notice that much of the fight, but it sounded really exciting. The fight was absolutely insane. That is too much content for me to cut in a lifetime, probably. But I'm going to try to make the best of it to show it off as best as I can. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.